Arkansas Board of Directors to order. This time we would have a roll call.
Director Brewer,
Here.
Director Jewell,
Here.
Director Roberts,
Here.
Director Harris,
Here.
Director Hollebush,
Here.
Assistant Mayor Hart is absent, and Mayor Brown.
Here. At this time, we'll stand. I'll be giving the invocation tonight, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by our Deputy City Clerk, Jenny Norris. Let us pray. Gracious God, thank you for this day and all the blessings that you've given us, and thank you for bringing us all here safe tonight, and be with us as we conduct the business of the city and guide us as we go home. For it's in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance.
You may be seated. Just a couple of housekeeping things. If you have your cell phone with you, if you would silence those, we would appreciate that during the meeting. We have citizens communication cards on the ledge. I have two already filled out now. If you wish to address the board tonight, we'd appreciate you registering your speaking on a citizens communication card. For the board's purpose, we are pulling on the consent agenda item number 10. Item number 10 has been pulled from the consent agenda by the city manager and Public Works. Having said that, we'll move right on into our citizens communication time. The first one I have is a Thomas Bohan.
Good evening, Mayor, board members. My name is Thomas Bohan. I live at 1807 Highland, Ward 1. Terry Roberts is my ward director, and he's done a great job there. But I'm not here tonight to talk about my property. My friend Shad McDonald has a piece of property on Jackson at 115 Jackson. It's one of the three properties down at the end, those vacant properties. I began caretaking that lot in 2012. I still do it. 2021 in December, a ditch cleaning project was done, and where the Public Works Department accessed his property on and off of it at least 2 days, and they left it rutted. When I began mowing that property in April of 22, I noted that the ruts were there. They had left a pile of debris at the back of the property, Mayor Brown, that I removed myself. I began calling the Public Works Department, asking for someone to come and repair the lot. I've done that all of 22. I've done that all of 23. I did receive at one time an answer that when it dries up, we'll come out and we'll repair the property. That was never done. I move on into 24. I'm still mowing it. I contacted Terry Roberts. I did not know the ward layout. I had Terry come walk that property with me on March the 30th of 2024 on Saturday around 3 p.m. He saw the damage. I'm not trying to put the light onto him. I'm just letting you know he was there. He saw it. I kept calling Public Works to try to get the situation resolved. I met Public Works Director on July the 29th of this year on the property. He let me know he didn't see any damage, which is ludicrous. I've mowed that lot for all these years, the grass clippings, erosion over time, but they're there. If you mow it, you feel them. We made an agreement on that day that soil will be placed between the two trees from the middle to the back, from the ditch edge to half of that property line. That was our agreement that day, and it has still not been done. I'm asking, when will the city put my friend's property back like they found it? That's all I've come to ask.
Thank you. Mr. Bohan, are you finished mowing it, that property, for this year?
No, sir. I keep it mowed. I just mowed it last week. I'll continue. I mow it through the off season as well. Leaves fall. I keep that property in as good a shape as I can. I try to keep it weed eated along that ditch, but that ditch grows very quickly. But the answer is no.
Okay, yeah, you got it. You keep it looking good out there. If Tyler can contact you after the meeting, maybe tomorrow, and work something where, you know, so you're not right in the middle of the mowing when he comes out that way. Try to get that fixed, because I know exactly
All someone
what
has
you're
to do,
talking about.
sir, mayor, directors, I did not address him by name. I know he's a new city manager. I respect him highly.
Sure.
But the damage was done in December of '21. If I'd called once or twice, that'd be different. I've called many times. I've left many voicemails. He's left me a few voicemails. I'm asking that the property be repaired,
Certainly.
and that's all I'm asking. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bohan.
Chris Owens.
Mr. Mayor, Board, back again. Just wanted to remind the mayor and the Board of Directors of the invitation that's extended to come out and help us be a blessing to our first responders, and that's going to be on next Saturday, the 19th, at the Texarkana, Arkansas Parks and Rec Center. This is our second annual time to do this project, but we feel that our first responders should receive the love and commitment from the community that they give to us when they respond to our needs. And so again, we're asking, this is going to be held from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and we would just love for you guys to come by and share with us, to share with them how much we appreciate them. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board during citizens' communication time? Anyone else? If not, we have a proclamation tonight to read. We have presentation of our city service awards, and I'm told that these three recipients are not present. We have Deanne Grider for the IT department with 5 years, Daniel Williams with TWU for 5 years, and Jared McCreary with TWU for 15 years. Let's give those guys a round of applause. Now we have a proclamation for the week of October the 13th through the 19th as Black Restaurant Week. And after I read this proclamation, I'll present this I'll hand it down to Director Harris, and Director Harris will take this about in the next few weeks and present this and show this to our black restaurants throughout our city. Black Restaurant Week is October the 13th through the 19th of 2024. Whereas Texarkana Black Restaurant Week was established in 2020 and strived to promote the many black-owned restaurants and food service providers throughout Texarkana, Arkansas and our metropolitan area. And whereas Texarkana Black Restaurant Week is an opportunity for black-owned restaurants, food trucks, and caterers to offer dining deals to bring in another level of customers through their doors. And whereas the goal is to stimulate economic impact in the local restaurant industry for black-owned businesses and raise awareness of these businesses in the Texarkana metropolitan area, and it allows the region to support minority-owned eateries. And whereas supporting black restaurants plays a crucial role in achieving socioeconomic upliftment, and the sustainable implementation of these beliefs will strengthen our communities and open opportunities for future generations. And whereas this week will also highlight the culinary skills of the community, new and emerging chefs, food truck events, caterers, and long-established restaurateurs. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Alan L. Brown, Mayor of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, do hereby proclaim October the 13th through the 19th, 2024 as the Black Restaurant Week in the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, and I urge all of our citizens to join in this special observance. It's signed by myself, Alan Brown, as mayor, and our city clerk, Heather Sawyers. And I'll present this time to Director Harris, and we appreciate him bringing that again this year to the board. At this time, we'll go right into our consent agenda. We have several items on our consent agenda. Again, item number 10 has been pulled from the consent agenda. So we have item number 3, which is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting on September the 16th. Item number 4 is to adopt a resolution to reschedule the Board of Directors meetings in 2025 that conflict with holidays. Item number 5 is to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager and into a memorandum of understanding with the Texarkana Regional Airport, Texarkana College Police, Texarkana Arkansas Police, and the City of Texarkana, Arkansas. Adopt a resolution amending resolution number 2023-94 to correct a parcel number for 514 Ferguson to 1590060. Adopt a resolution amending resolution number 2023-97 to correct errors for parcel numbers and addresses. Item number 8 is to adopt a resolution amending resolution 2024-23, correcting the parcel number for 709 Cleveland Street to 1610520. Adopt a resolution amending Resolution 2024-71 to correct the parcel number for 2218 Selma to 4850490. And item number 11 is to adopt a resolution authorizing city manager to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the city of Texarkana, Texas, to apply for the Bramfields Assessment Grant. What would be the desire of the board on the consent agenda?
Motion to adopt.
So I have a motion and a second to adopt. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The consent agenda passes. So moving right along to our first item tonight on our regular agenda is to consider the following action concerning the cleanup of 38 nuisance properties. We are to conduct a public hearing to receive comments regarding certification of certain delinquent taxes and adopt a resolution certifying the amount to be put on the tax books as delinquent and collected accordingly. Roger. At this time, we will open a public hearing to discuss the 38 nuisance properties that we are considering putting tax liens on.
Just like last month, we brought the delinquent liens to you. This is just 38 more of them, just doing some cleanup.
And most of these are all the weed lot, 220 mowing type thing.
They're all weed lot liens, yes, sir.
Does anybody have any other? Director Harris?
I'm just not looking at it, but I'm gonna say is about 80% of what houses was it at one time? Where you had abandoned houses, or the houses was,
A lot of them are.
so, and how's the tax situation on those doing? Ain't they eventually gonna be, just added on, if I'm not mistaken, at the beginning, right?
Yes.
They, and when someone, well, apparently, if you already tore a house down, I don't see nobody coming forward and paying the taxes, but I do gotta, well, I'll wait later on, I'll ask the city attorney a question.
Any
Well, I
other?
guess I go ahead and ask him.
Okay.
If there's a dispute in the situation with this, and I may be referring to myself about whether grass is cut or not cut, if there's a leeway other than filing an appeal to get that person before a judge, and that judge can make a determination as to whether the grass cut or whether it wasn't cut, instead of a person going, paying $165 and $200 and I guess and $250 in the summer.
You mean after the lien is filed?
Well,
Because you get notice that this
Uh-huh.
is happening, and this is part of the reason for the public hearing as well.
How soon are those notices sent out, Roger, before we actually cut?
They're sent out after the weed lots are cut. When the crew gets everything back to the office, we send out the lien.
When we
send
send
out a
the,
notice that they're.
When do you
when we-
notify them that we're fixing to do that, though? How long do they have to mow their own property?
they have 7 days. When we send the initial code violation, they have 7 days to actually mow the
Mow it
property.
themselves.
Rarely do we actually get there within 7 days. It's typically much longer than that.
Yeah, that never happens. It's usually closer to 15 to 30 days before
We actually cut.
we actually.
Okay, all right.
could you answer the question, and I'm gonna ask, follow up with the mayor with the issue.
You're asking after this resolution is passed and a lien is placed on
No,
220 lane?
I'm getting to what happened, this happened last year, Mayor, last board meeting. It was a property at 1010 Jackson, and I had went there and cut the property that Wednesday before the city came and cut it. And so the city, put this on the thing from the lien, and I was saying that was the issue as to whether the property cut or not. And, like I said, I cut it that Wednesday other than the backyard, but because.
Prior to the board meeting.
Yes, yeah, this was
So
done
the
way
lien
back.
didn't, but we didn't file a lien on
Yeah,
it.
well, it was paid, for a reason, but that's the issue on another day, what's not. But the point what I was trying to make is, the past city manager and Tyler know of the issue that's been going on at that property between the owner next door. And he even spraying, Roundup on the back of the property. Now, Mayor, if I go and spray Roundup on anybody's property here, just say if I go spray Roundup on your property, I know that just think, I'd probably be in jail the next day, or be hauled down in the police station the next day if I spray Roundup on your property, anybody else's property. So the guy next door is spraying Roundup and on the property next door, at that next address 1010 Great, which I brought up at the last board meeting. And the point what I was trying to make is, when a situation like this, I think that it should have been put before a judge and let the judge resolve the situation. Because see, I said that the property was cut before the city came there, and the city said that they cut it. And Tyler is totally aware of this, because it's not the first time this incident happened. So he's aware of the situation, because the guy next door was having a fish business. And they're gonna call them the mosquitoes and all that, and his wife was complaining that the tall grass next door was causing that. And so, and how this relates to this, that I just think that if there's a dispute somewhere in this process, then this needs to go, or without a person have to go and pay $65 or whatever. I think when an issue like this, that 1010 Grape should have been pulled off at the last thing, and then it should have maybe went down there to the municipal judge. Then then the city should have submit evidence as to what it was cut and what the grass looked like, and I should maybe submit evidence as to what the grass ever cut, instead of paying the $200 and saying, just to save face, that the $200 was paid. But the point I'm trying to say, when there's an ongoing dispute between adjacent property as to whether the grass is cut or not, I think that issue should have just went before the judge. Then the judge would have made a decision. Hey, the municipal judge say, did y'all cut the grass or y'all didn't cut the grass? And then that's what I'm trying to say. As to that's the question I was asking you. At what point, how can a certain situation like this go before a judge, down the municipal judge? Because the grass was cut that Wednesday. It wasn't cut next door to where he was spraying the Roundup and
Right,
stuff.
but and that's the reason for this hearing.
But I stated all that at the hearing, and nobody didn't take it off. And I can see nobody didn't try to take it off. That the $200, it like I said, it was paid.
Yeah.
The next, I guess that following thing, but I went down there and paid it. you
Right.
know.
So, but I think your only recourse is an appeal to the circuit court to get a tax lien removed, whether it be this tax lien or Department of Finance and
And in that
Administration.
appeal
tax lien.
process, this evidence would be shown as to whether it was mowed or not mowed, or that's
Right.
what the appeal process is.
That's correct.
Yeah, but
And
I-
it starts over, so
Okay.
it's not, it starts fresh, it's a new
But
lawsuit.
what I was getting at, that somehow based on the ongoing dispute, it should have went before it came before this board here.
Well,
That's the point I'm trying to make.
yeah, but-
Because, Tyler was well aware of the situation, and the past city manager was aware of the situation. I'm just trying to see, how can you get this issue, cleared up within a non-party? Because the city is motivated by the $200 that they may get, So I can't say how can they be really objected if they do get it, But most of the time they're not getting this, but I went and paid it just to, well, that's another issue why I went and paid it. But I went and paid it, but I'm just trying to say, how could an issue like this be able to get before a judge?
Well, this is, the way this, if you read the resolution, this is
This
the
the final,
procedure.
right.
This is the procedure
Mhm.
for the city to collect
The
these
money.
nuisance taxes.
Right. I understand it.
And-
And this is procedure for them saying that they established that they have cut it. But I'm saying,
What procedure would the resident go through to file an appeal?
File a petition with the
lawsuit.
circuit court. Yeah,
Oh,
and
file
he's
a
right,
lawsuit.
they'll have to pay $175.
$165.
But if the property owner, before it gets here, if the property owner has mowed that before it even comes here that day, could he not call Public Works and say, hey, I mowed it on Wednesday. And would y'all not talk to them about removing it that day before it comes to us or whatever? I mean,
When our-
it's not too late at that point to get it removed by y'all before it comes to us, right?
When our crew goes out, they take before and after pictures too of everything.
We've had this come up many times, so we started, and I'm not talking about this case. We have it with many other cases. So that was something we implemented a couple of years ago. Before they cut a lot, they've got to take pictures of it before and after they cut it, so we don't have the problem.
So it's kind of person's definition of whether it's mowed or not mowed, whether it's skimming over the top, it's not really
Right.
mowing and.
And our ordinance is 12 inches tall.
Yeah, okay.
Roger, the only comment that I would make is, we had a meeting several months ago with the tax collector for Miller County where all these are filed. I actually had a conversation with her today. She saw this on the agenda, and we have 38 tax liens going to her again. And one of the things that we had agreed to do was kind of give her some heads-up notice that these tax liens were coming. But the other thing is to make sure that we have a process in place to release these liens timely when someone comes and pays us, because they have no knowledge of somebody that we can, once they go pay that 220, either they come pay us or they're going to go pay her, and this 220 or 250 or 220, whatever it is in front of those taxes. So you got to pay that first before you can even pay your property taxes or your real estate taxes. Is that we've got to work out some mechanism that we get these filed, because now it's tax season. She's got a lot of people pouring in down there between now and October the 15th, and some of these have been paid, some of them hadn't. They go in and they don't have any knowledge they paid us through some type of release.
The ones that have been paid, like before this meeting, we take them off before we come into the meeting.
Right, but
if
after
they
the
come in
fact. So if
after
we
that-
allow somebody to come here and pay that fine, pay that lien, if they come here and write us a check, I'm assuming we don't turn their money bound, but we've got to get that to the tax collector to
Well,
let her know
if
they
the-
did pay it.
If it's been filed with them, they have to go down to the courthouse and pay it.
Okay. And then we
They
have to
can't- they
issue a
can't pay it
release.
here.
But we have to
We
do,
have to
Tracy,
release
don't we
it.
have to do some type of release?
We have
once
to
they
release
do
it.
Typically, I send those over to the city attorney and he gets them.
Okay,
We did one last week.
okay. Her point was, is just, you got 38 more of these that we are collecting money, that we at least have a process to get those released. And I just told her I would mention that so we are aware that we got to get them done timely, because especially now when people are trying to pay their taxes. Any other questions?
I have one question. So these liens are placed on the front end, which means they can't pay their property taxes until they pay this lien off. So when we demolish houses, how is that different from this?
Last year, when we brought the liens on the demolished houses, the board decided if we use city funds to not file the liens. And if it's CDGB money that we use, we have to file the liens. We can't forgive those loans. So we have to file those.
Well, what I would say is that we look at the collectability of that lien, because that lien actually goes against that property.
Yeah.
And so when you're putting a $4,000 or $5,000 demo lien on a $500 lot, it doesn't make a lot of sense. And if we go to the tax collector, that Tyler and I met with several months ago when he was in Public Works, is she knows the collectability of those, which means she knows they haven't paid their taxes in 4 or 5 years, they're not going to pay that lien.
Well, that's why the board decided to do away with that.
And if
last
they're
year.
deceased,
Yeah.
if they're deceased and fixing to be delinquent, we don't file that lien. We're just spinning our wheels. Tracy?
But with the CDBG funds, those are federal
Right.
dollars.
Yeah.
So their issue is that someone comes in and buys this property, a developer, then they've received a windfall from federal dollars that were meant for low to moderate income people. So we have to file the liens with the CDBG.
Yeah, I understand that, 100%. I agree with that.
So as far as individual property owner, it's kind of the luck of the draw as to whether or not they get a lien placed on their property?
Well, the individual, they can come in after the fact, and what we do, if they meet the low to moderate income requirements, we forgive it.
Okay.
Yeah. There's grants that they can get to cover the lien. And we try to tell them, that that's available when we do this. but you have to come down, as soon as you get the lien, you have to come down there and see Tracy to start working on it. And we have some people that do it.
And we've forgiven probably about 10 of the properties, but not everyone comes in and applies for it.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I guess there was a tax sale not too long ago, and, what happened to the lien when the lien went with the tax sale? Because it was a loss of property that wasn't bought up. Some were bought up for $400 or $500, and I know some of them, you had tore down the houses. So what happened to the lien there? Maybe I need to get more specific. Well, if you look back at the last tax sale back in June, there was some houses, there was some property that after 3 years, if the property tax is not paid and you tore down the house, then they're gonna go to the Arkansas Land Commission, then they gonna come back and they gonna sell the house. And some of them may have a little asterisk by it that may state that, this may be, a lien on it. And then someone sell it for $500 property tax, but I know some property, that was sold, had a house on it, and I could probably give you an example, 2000 Cleveland Street. I know it was a house that was there, and it was tore down, but it was eventually bought for $500. So what happened to the lien there?
Again, if they come and see me and they meet the low to moderate income requirements, we still forgive it.
The liens are still there with the state land commissioner. It seems like every year after that auction, we have somebody coming in saying, hey, we just bought this property at auction, we discovered this lien on it. So typically, the ones buying the property at those auctions, they don't qualify to have that lien released.
But shouldn't that have been notified with the land commission that there was a lien on them? Because they not buying the property for $3,500 or $4,000. They buying it for $500, $600. So where's the lien at during the process?
That's why the state land commissioner puts the asterisks out there next to the property. There may be some liabilities
The
there.
typical lien theory is that most people have mortgages or equity and property, and you come to the credit union and we'll you don't pay us, we can put a lien on your property, and if you ever sell that property 10, 15, 20 years from now, you would collect that money, or you would get a percentage of whatever the equity in that property would be. These are what I've said for 3 or 4 years. They're very, very, very rarely, it's seldom ever going to be collected. And you're wasting a lot of not only city time on the ones that we don't have to file, we're wasting a lot of city time, but we're also wasting a lot of the county's time in putting these liens on these properties because they're simply uncollectible. You can't do it. Any other discussion? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Any other discussion before the city attorney reads the resolution? If not, I'd have the city attorney read the resolution.
Whereas notice was given pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated section 1454-904 to the property owners of the properties listed in Exhibit A of a hearing before the Texarkana, Arkansas Board of Directors to determine the amount of the lien, if any, to be placed on the properties for the expense incurred by the city for removal of overgrowth, trash, and debris from nuisance properties of such parcel of real property under the provisions of Arkansas Code annotated section 1456-201 and Arkansas Code annotated section 1454-901 and the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances, including without limitation, Chapter 11, Article 6. And whereas such notice was given pursuant to applicable law more than 30 days prior to the date of the hearing and stated that the hearing on the matter would be before the City Board of Directors on October 7, 2024, commencing at 6:00 p.m. in the Texarkana, Arkansas Building Boardroom. And whereas a hearing on such claim by the city was held this day pursuant to said notice and in accordance with the provisions of applicable law in the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances. And whereas the properties that issue property owners and lien amounts, with the amount of the lien on each said parcel being the city's incurred expense for such parcel, plus 10% penalty as provided by law, including without limitation, Arkansas Code annotated section 1454-904, are listed on Exhibit A attached hereto. Whereas the Board of Directors has determined that there should be certified to the Miller County, Arkansas tax collector to be placed on the books as delinquent taxes, the amount set forth for each said parcel of real property. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Directors of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas, that the amount set forth for each piece of property in Exhibit A are hereby certified to the tax collector of Miller County, Arkansas, for placement on the tax books as delinquent taxes on the respective parcels of real property identified and described therein and collected accordingly as provided for by applicable law, including without limitation Arkansas Code annotated Section 1454-901, passed and approved the 7th day of October 2024.
City Attorney's read the resolution. What would be the desire of the board?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Okay. Prior to voting, does anyone have any other discussion? Director Harris.
Did he name the property out? I just know,
They're attached.
okay, I just know you used to give the address of
They're in Exhibit A.
okay, you'll be all night. Okay.
All right. Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollybush,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes. Resolution passes. Moving right along to item number 13, is to adopt an ordinance to rezone property located at 710 Phillips Lane from R3 low-density residential to A1 limited mixed-use rural for the purpose of operating a hobby farm. Jamie.
All right, this should be simple. This is the property here. The gentleman wants to operate a hobby farm with a little truck garden and some poultry. We've already approved the conditional use permit for him to have poultry, the acceptable number there. If you remember, he wants to rezone this to A1. This is the property right here that I believe last month we rezoned to A1 over here. This is New Haven Golf Course back here. And the property, okay. There we go. The property's zoned R3 right now. And like I said, this property right over here, we've already rezoned to A1.
Unanimous consent from the planning commission, I
Yes,
saw.
yes.
Does any have any
I
questions?
have a question.
Yes.
Have you received any, I guess, any hardships, any complaints for the citizens in the areas that it may cause to that, by them developing their location as such?
Not even a phone call inquiring about it.
All right.
Jamie, this is in my ward, and the property improvement that he's done cleaning it up is unbelievable. It looks really, really nice. He has done a really good job, and it's going to be an asset to that area. And wanted to add to that, the A1 rezoning has helped Ward 1 tremendously. I applaud the city planner's office and Planning and Zoning Commission, because it's probably been used more in Ward 1 than any other ward, and it's been very beneficial to give landowners the use back for their property.
It solved a lot of hurdles that we
It
ran
has,
into.
and I appreciate that.
Will you elaborate again on the description of the hobby farm, what items they will be?
So A1 properties are, A1 is limited mixed rural. So it's designed for people that have larger pieces of property that want to do, like we didn't really have anything that, if you wanted to run a wedding venue, we really didn't have anything that fit that. If you wanted to grow blueberries and sell blueberries from a little stand out by the road, we didn't have anywhere you could do that without rezoning it commercial, which was not, just made no sense whatsoever. So that's what the A1 was designed for, was these people that had larger pieces of property that wanted to do something that was quasi-commercial, but it was still a residential piece of property.
Gotcha.
So,
Well, thanks for explaining that.
and there's a couple other things. You can have two houses on A1 property if you have at least 5 acres. That's the only zone you can do that in. And you can build a shop or a barn before you can build a house in A1. Because we had people who had horses and had property that they just wanted, they just wanted to keep their horses on the property. And all the other zones, you have to have a house there before you can have a barn or a shop. So A1, you can do that.
I noticed it listed for emergency clause. Why would it be considered emergency?
Director Roberts asked for the emergency clause.
Correct.
Why
Well,
was it?
so that way he can get this started and finished before winter gets here. And he has property that is located on the same street that I live on, and then this is down the road where he's wanting to relocate. And instead of him having to wait the 30 days, he can get started and tomorrow.
How many acres of fencing he's
Oh, goodness,
anticipating?
it's what, 30?
Because how winter really just kicks in around. like
It's a
December,
ton of
January.
acreage.
Really?
How many, Justin? 10? It looks like more than that out there, but it's a pretty piece of property.
Thanks, Chairman.
Hobby farm, is that your blueberry people, your horses, or what is a hobby farm?
It's just people that want to have a garden out there. They just want to have a garden, and then maybe they want to sell some of their produce just at a roadside stand.
But it could be the people with the horses too?
You have to have a conditional use permit to have horses. Any animals on A1 require a conditional use permit.
So a hobby farm is just kind of a catch-all for a lot
Yeah.
of things, right?
It's you're not doing it commercially. I don't-
Any other questions?
Maybe he'll grow some watermelons. I like buying those.
If no other questions, I remind the board this is an ordinance to pass tonight. It would need to be read 3 times, and an emergency clause has also been asked for. What would be the desire of the board to have the ordinance read on its first reading?
First reading, abbreviated form.
Have a motion and a second to have the ordinance read on its first reading in abbreviated form. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollibish,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number K-286 is amended for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its second reading tonight?
Second reading, abbreviated form, please.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollibish,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number K-286 as amended for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire of the board to have it read on its third and final reading?
Third reading, abbreviated form.
We have a motion and a second to have it read on its third and final reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollibish,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number K-286 as amended for declaring an emergency and for other purposes.
So the ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Let's have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt this particular ordinance, is there anyone here to wish to speak for or against? Hearing and seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollibish,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes, and the ordinance is adopted. What would be the desire of the board to attach an emergency clause?
Motion to attach emergency clause.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to attach emergency clause. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollibish,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes, an emergency clause is attached. Moving right along to item number 14, is adopt an ordinance to amend ordinance L 180 to reflect the minimum area of a planned unit development to be 2 acres. Jamie?
So in section 2824 of the ordinance's planned unit development, for reasons I do not know, paragraph B states that the minimum area for a PUD is 1/4 of an acre. Paragraph E states it's 2 acres. In talking with the Planning Commission, 1/4 of an acre is not enough to do anything with for a planned unit development, and it is their intent to have it 2 acres. So we are asking to amend that so that both sections read 2 acres.
Anybody have any questions?
Was that a clerical error when they did that, or?
I'm going to be honest with you, and I don't know why this was done. It was originally 2 acres, and years ago, they changed the ordinance to make it 1/4 of an acre. And in the minutes of that meeting, it says it was to encourage more people to use a planned unit development. But for the purpose of a planned unit development. That's typically something that doesn't fall into anything else like Harvest International Church, because they're building a school and a church and a meeting hall. And so with planned unit developments, you can only build what you tell us you're going to build in the way you say you're going to build it. And 1/4 of an acre is just, it's not enough to do anything really except build a single-family home on. So I don't know why they changed it.
We passed an ordinance that really discouraged it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's tiny.
Any other questions?
I'm going to blame that on somebody else.
I'll remind the board, this is an ordinance to pass tonight. It would need to be read 3 times. What would be the desire to have it read on its first reading?
First reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to have it read in its abbreviated form, its first reading. Any other discussion? Would you call the roll?
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Holovish,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number L-180 to reflect the minimum size of a planned unit development zoning district to be 2 acres and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its second?
Second reading, abbreviated form, please.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to have it read on its second reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Holovish,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number L-180 to reflect the minimum size of a planned unit development zoning district to be 2 acres and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its third and final reading?
Third reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to have it read on its third and final reading. Any other discussion? Would you call the roll?
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Holovish,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number L-180 to reflect the minimum size of a planned unit development zoning district to be 2 acres and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. What would be the desire to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So have a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt this particular ordinance, is there anyone here wishing to speak for or against? Seeing and hearing none, would you call the roll?
Director Brewer,
Here. Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Holovish,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes, and the ordinance is adopted. Moving on to our last item tonight, is to adopt an ordinance to amend ordinance number L61 to add the word overlay after each occurrence of the term R1 rural residential in section 28-75, temporary secondary dwelling units of the city of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances. Jamie.
So I promise eventually we will get all these ordinances cleaned up, because I know y'all hate me.
All we've done tonight.
In our use matrix, the matrix that we list where what you can do in every zone, it lists that you can only have a temporary secondary dwelling in the R1 overlay district, which is where we allow manufactured homes. In section 2875, in the narrative about temporary secondary dwellings, the word overlay was omitted, so it just says R1, which R1 is completely different than the R1 overlay. So we are asking to add overlay to that section.
Now, I have one question. I guess I'm trying to still comprehend the overlay. I know that I have an overlay district in part of my ward that's in the Hastings Crossing area.
That's-
Is that just a straight overlay district, or is there something else attached to that?
So we have R1 zoning,
Mhm.
and then we have an overlay over the R1 zoning in certain parts of the city, out around Hastings Crossing. It's out eastern part of the city.
Correct.
And that is the only place in the city you can have a manufactured home, is in that overlay district.
Okay.
And it's also the only place that you can have a temporary secondary dwelling. But in the narrative for this, the secondary dwellings, the word overlay got left out.
Okay, so that would be like if somebody had a camper that they were using for 30 days. I mean, does that fall into that category?
That can be a temporary secondary dwelling
But they only can use that,
in the overlay district.
gotcha.
Right, so I don't think, you're not in the overlay district, so
No.
nobody could put a temporary dwelling in their backyard for 30 days.
Gotcha.
Any other questions?
I guess.
Okay.
What's the difference between a manufactured home and a trailer home?
They're the same.
They the same?
The difference comes when it's a modular home, which is more like we used to think of the old Jim Walter homes.
Any other questions? I remind the board this is an ordinance to pass tonight. It would need to be read 3 times. What would be the desire of the board to have it read on its first reading?
First reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have it read on its first reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollibish,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number L61 to add the word overlay after each occurrence of the term R1 rural residential in section 2875 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its first reading. What would be the desire to have it read on its second reading?
Second reading, abbreviated form, please.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollibish,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number L61 to add the word overlay after each occurrence of the term R1 rural residential in section 2875 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its second reading. What would be the desire of the board to have it read on its third and final reading?
Third reading, abbreviated form.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to have it read on its third reading. Any other discussion? Could you call the roll?
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollibish,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes.
An ordinance amending ordinance number L61 to add the word overlay after each occurrence of the term R1 rural residential in section 2875 of the City of Texarkana, Arkansas Code of Ordinances and for other purposes.
Ordinance has been read on its third and final reading. What would be the desire of the board to adopt?
Motion to adopt.
Second.
So a motion and a second to adopt. Prior to the board voting to adopt this particular ordinance, is there anyone here wishing to speak for or against? Hearing and seeing none, could you call the roll?
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollibish,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes, and the ordinance is adopted. Moving into Board of Directors' commentary, is there any board member that wishes to address the board tonight or citizens? To Director Harris.
I guess she's gone. I was gonna ask her, Sister Chris, from my understanding, ain't there's gonna be something that cross-tied with the police and, law enforcement this coming Thursday?
This is a different, hers is a different event. It's on the 19th, on a Saturday, at the rec center.
Okay, I was saying, what's the
There's
difference?
another fish fry that the first responders are putting on through Texarkana Emergency Center and Farmers Bank are feeding them. Isn't that Thursday, Chief Fletcher, do you know? Isn't that first responders fish fry Thursday?
5
Yes.
to 7.
Oh, okay, I was trying to figure out what was the difference on that. And then my other thing is, which is, I got some phone call, I guess I don't know how, as to the city manager. It was about, and then when I looked at my note, it was about Community Street and Robert Street. They were saying about the overgrowth on the side of the street, and I wouldn't be bringing this up to you at a board meeting, unless I already had brought it up to you before, but I'm looking at this, and that was brought up as a presentation last year, by me, I think sometime April I have April the 22nd, 2023, and my question is, I don't want to say who the person is, but, they was talking about Community Street, how the overgrowth, and you can't drive on the side of the road, you gotta get in the middle of the street, but my question is, and I know I'm on the board member, is bringing up jobs not being done, in his ward. I don't know what's rationale behind that. Is it they getting theirs done, or I had to keep arguing about what's been not done in Ward 2. But I just know that it said Community Street and Robert Street, and I think also on Mary Street, but this has been previously brought to you, either it was been online or it was a presentation, if I'm not mistaken. And then my other question is, I guess, do we have anything with the housing authority? Do we have any pool or anything with the housing authority in Texas County? I know we used to appoint 8 members, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is that I was notified that all the housing authority, Bramble Court, Union Village, High Point, Bramble, that they took out all the playground equipment for the children that was living in the courts of the housing authority, the project, how you want to pronounce it, and they took out the basketball court. So, do we have any say-so? I know on the Texas side, the housing authority member had to meet with the government official level. Over here, I don't guess they do. And I told them, I told them I would bring this up, but all the playground equipment being taken away from, like I said, High Point, Union Village, that have, they moved the basketball goal over there in Pinehurst Village. So, do we have any say-so?
I'm not aware of any of that. I'm not aware that they've done that either. I mean, that's something we can probably check on. There's got to be a reason to do it, but I'm assuming Tyler can call the director over there and find out.
Well, if they saying liability, well, we can say the same, they can say the same thing about the city parks, you know. You got playground equipment in the city park,
Well, we govern the city parks. We just don't govern the housing.
that's what I'm saying. We can say the same thing
It
about.
could be the health department, it could maybe a safety issue, it could be a number of things that they may do it, so if it's involved with them, but it's worth checking into anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'll contact the new
I
director.
did what I needed to do, bring it before the government official.
Anybody else wish to address the board?
Thank you.
On October 6th, or 26th, I'm sorry, they're doing a food truck festival at Bobby Ferguson, and they're going to have hot air balloons out there. They're doing a glow show. They're going to be doing tethered rides for $20. So I'd encourage anybody that wants to see that or hasn't been a part of that before to go to Bobby Ferguson on the 26th. That's going to be from, I think it's 5 p.m. until. So vendors are going to be there from 11 to 8. The hot air balloon tethered rides will start at 5 p.m. So that is a free event for the public, unless you want to ride.
Mayor,
Tyler? Yeah, Bruce, go ahead.
just one thing. I would like to give notice to two citizens in my ward that's constantly picking up trash, constantly observing the area and giving me updates. And that's Rodney Sullivan and Miss Sarah Meredith. And I want to congratulate them for their hard work and dedication each and every day. At the same time, for Ward 4 citizens, I want you all to know that the investigation is still going on with SWEPCO when it comes to outdated equipment and transfer boxes, and I should be getting an update here pretty soon. Thank you.
Tyler?
Director Brewer, did you say Sarah Meredith?
Yes.
Okay, all right, I'll just make sure I had that right. I'll be real brief. I sent you all a report just a couple of hours ago. I tried to get that out Friday, didn't quite make it, I apologize, but I just wanted to highlight just a couple of things in there real fast. Texas Side City Manager and I have been working for the past couple of months on a little reorganization with TWU as it pertains to IT. So we have promoted Brandon Usselton to Chief Information Officer, so the IT
Did you say
department.
demoted?
Yeah, promoted. So the IT department will split off and become its own department that reports directly to both city managers. Obviously, we've got a unique situation between the two cities, but in most cities, the IT department reports directly to both city managers. No financial changes will be made. The budget will stay the same. It'll still be funded out of the TWU budget, but next year, throughout this year, we'll work through all the little nuances and get them all corrected, and then in next year's budget, it'll be separated, but from TWU, but still funded through TWU's revenues.
Congratulations, Brent.
Yes. And then we had National Night Out last week. I attended 4 different sites. Every one of them had a great turnout, and from the word I've received, all the others had a great turnout too. And our police and fire departments always do a miraculous job of engaging with our community members and increasing that bond over their shared interests. And last thing, I'm working out a contract with a website company to redo our website, get us something a little more modern with some better services there. You go to most any substantial city, you can fill out permits online, make payments. You can do a lot of business online, and I'd really like to get us up to that point. So we've got a real favorable quote from a company, and we're working out some details right now. But I'm probably going to get moving on that real fast. It's going to take about 6 months to build the website, so we won't see it for a while. We'll maintain the one we've got until that point, but that's another thing I'm working on. That's all I've got for you. Yes, sir.
Will you be able to look at and see the status of the work order that a person put in?
No, because it doesn't link directly to CityWorks. So CityWorks has that capability, but you're talking about an extra, what was it, Tracy, $90,000 a year? Yeah, $85,000 a year. So we just couldn't justify that one. I would love to be able to do that, but can't quite make that one happen. This expense we're talking about, do you remember what was it, $3,000-$4,000 a year for this website, something like that?
About the same as what we're paying now.
Yeah, it wasn't much different than what we're paying now with a ridiculous more amount of resources, so.
Is it gonna be something Eric can work on, or?
It's going to be something easy that every one of us, that even I can work on.
Any other discussion?
Well, your reports look very nice.
Thank you.
Very informative.
Remind the board, our next meeting will be Monday, October 21st. For some of the business, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Let's have a motion and a second to adjourn. Could you call the roll, please?
Director Brewer,
Yes.
Director Jewell,
Yes.
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Harris,
Yes.
Director Hollibush,
Yes.
Mayor Brown.
Yes. We're adjourned.